The objective of this table talk is the issue of Gok Roger. Now he has come out of nowhere after 50 years of him abusing children. He's been convicted. Yeah. Now, why is this important within our community? Because there are a number of organizations that are working with the children, and we need to ensure that there's enough measures in place to safeguard our children, so that the future does not haunt us. Yeah. So that's what the meeting is all about, and the issue of grooming is another thing that's been happening in our community. So we need to have a general discussion on this. Huram is on there as well now. Assalamu alaikum, Huram.
How are you doing?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So we've just started the meeting. So the objective of this is to discuss the recent event that has come up the surface, i.e. the convicted child abuser Jimmy Savile of Halifax, John Gok Roger. Now, this is a very important issue because he had committed an abuse of children 50 years ago, and now we've just seen him getting convicted after 50 years. Yeah.
So was it historical? I'm not up to speed with it. Was it historical?
1976, according to the article. Yeah, was when he was taking children for trips, and he abused someone. Now the name of the victim is not mentioned, but what we know is that he just recently got convicted. He's been charged. He's behind bars, and he's a popular character. 91 years old. He's part of a lot of community projects. He used to come to Himmat project on a regular basis, Enterprise Center as well, and 10 years ago, and now his crime has been exposed. Now the issue now is that we've got a few organizations like 51 Scouts, etc., that are working with children. Are there any measures put in place? Yeah, and so forth. I'm just going to open the floor for discussion relating to this. So now over to you guys. Start the discussion one by one.
Well, I personally think, from my perspective, is that, if you look around, there are measures in place. The council has put measures in place, Whether we in our Asian community do that or not, like, for example, we get Maulvis coming from other countries, do we vet them? We say, okay, they have to go through certain procedures to come into this country, but do we do an actual vetting process for them? I don't think so. Or maybe we do, but it might be limited. But, that's one of the things. But whenever you are working with children, there needs to be some sort of safeguarding in place. What I see at the moment is that, okay, in some areas of responsibility, like the schools, it's, it's kind of, fine, they have to go through that process due diligently. Otherwise, in other areas, it's not so. I think, but it's down to us, how serious the issue is within Halifax and wider circles, wider areas, to be able to then come up with something saying, okay, right, what do we need to do from our perspective? Do we engage with the council? Do we do this? Do whatever? So that's my bit of info on this. Anybody, any questions on that? Anything?
So, hi, Halifax Voice. Me, to be honest, yesterday was the first time I heard about this Gok Rogers. So, what's the actual story with this guy, and what's going on? Is this the purpose of the table talk? This Gok Roger?
So, Gok Roger is one aspect, but then the other things that are happening within our community, like there's two recently have been caught grooming. At 25 years old, I forgot his name, but the article was published there on the group. He was grooming underage.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And then there was another guy he got caught grooming or attempted grooming in January. Now, I've raised this issue with the masjid to highlight the issue of grooming first of all, and then the second, what is the masajids or our community in general doing to cater for a big crisis that's going to happen in our community, and that is the marriage crisis. And so that's something that was highlighted to the masajids in January. I think it was January or beginning of February, and especially but that was basically put under the carpet because the community itself wants to hide a lot of these things because it's to do with modesty, izzat, besti type of thing. But now we're living in a modern society here. These things are going to happen. There are a lot of hormones that are flying around in the community, especially with the youngsters, and the advent of the social media. How are we going to cater for these youngsters so that they so that they are protected, and they are safe. Children are safeguarded from grooming and so forth. What services should the massages, the community should be providing, for our community?
Right. Okay. Well, of course, obviously, the grooming issue is a national issue. It just doesn't concern one town or Halifax, and it should be something what Uzbekistani should be talking about because look at Halifax. For example, I was in Pakistan, and I'm sure there was a group of lads who were in court about 2025. So it's even happening still now. So there's obviously a problem.
Were they from UK?
Yeah, they were from. Yeah. And it's very true that, to be honest with you, a lot of these people are related to half of us. So a lot of people don't speak out. And, whether someone wants to admit that or not, it's the truth.
Why is it we don't want to talk about it? Why do you think there is that, let's get this out in the main domain? Why?
I think we should ask the people who really don't speak out then. There's probably in the last 10 years, there's probably been about 3 or 4 batches of lads who've been picked up for grooming. I don't believe every person who's been charged was guilty because I have a different view on it as well. That half of them were set up and stuff like this. But it's been happening for years, and a lot of them are related, and a lot of people need to come out and speak out. The masjids need to take an active role. If the councils are doing something in the community, the masjids need to help and start boosting it. If there's other organizations within the community that take active roles, usually they need to get involved as well, because it's not just a Halifax issue, it's a national issue, and it would be good for some people to talk about it now and again.
I think it's a national issue, but at the same time, if we can sort our own backyard out first, that'd be a good start
That's always the best thing to do, isn't it? So we live in Halifax, so Halifax would be a good place to start from. For yourselves, you don't need to focus on outer towns. People can do that for themselves. Eventually, a movement starts over the years. But you've got to start doing something in your own town, haven't you?
Absolutely, yeah. And how do we raise that kind of level of awareness?
I think the issue really boils down to provision for youth and young people in terms of what's going on, what provision is being made available for young people in the summer, okay? And also, are we making accountable the education provision as well? What are they being taught at schools? And we need to actually do a lot of soul searching at primary and secondary school level in terms of what's being educated, and then obviously looking at rehabilitation as well in prisons, because those people who are in prison now, they're going to come back out eventually. Okay, so it might be a good start of actually working with the people who are in prison and asking them why they did what they did. Whether they're guilty or not, we're beyond that knowledge. So I think the key thing is to, number one, look at the situation in terms of what youth provision is. Okay. Number two, speak to the people who are involved in the situation. Get the police involved as well, and try to combat it. And I agree, it happens in every town, in every city, but, like they say, look up your own chicken in a way, So we will look up at Halifax, So that is the main thing, really, in terms of how we go about doing this. So we need to have a strategy in terms of combating it and being active. I think the key thing is not to react, but to be active about this.
Like in other communities, other towns, they have I'm just going to move on slightly, is that they have these marriage events, okay, don't go down the route of zina, there's a marriage event, and, if we kind of look at avenues like that, okay, the sooner you get married, the better it is, generally,
Now, I just want to interject in this and what Huram was mentioned. So these issues relating to marriages and how to find a spouse or companion was raised in February by myself to Ali Hadith Masjid. the committee itself. I went to raised it with various members of Ali Hadith. Then I went to Madani Masjid and I raised the same issue in Madani Masjid because there was a youngster, that was caught trying to groom of 14 years old. Although on the other side was an imposter sitting there, like a Wizard of Oz type of character, and they were adults trying to catch this guy out. Now they caught him red-handed, and the guy is a well-known character in our community because he happened to be a hafiz of Quran. Now I raised the issue with the masjid. Masjid were shy to talk about it. They said keep it hush hush, and they've just buried it in the carpet. I gave them a solution as well. Then I raised it with Madani Masjid. They basically said the same thing. Now I think the masjids, they know the problems, but they're not willing to take a proactive stance on this. Now, rightly said, Jimmy, that I propose to them, let's have a marriage register. Because I know a lot of youths that come to the masjid outside. Yeah, how do we prevent them from engaging in relationships, that are not conducive to our values and culture? How do you cater for them? Yeah, and Khurram, you're absolutely right that education is the first thing. And secondly, we need to provide services, within our masajids that are readily available for these individuals, men and women, so that you could do matchmaking. Like a marriage register. You got it in Birmingham, like a marriage register. Have regular marriage events. Because it's very difficult now, as we know, the requirements to get married from abroad and bring a spouse over. So we need to start thinking about these strategies. Now, how do we approach this? That's the biggest question. So I gave them a solution, and the masjid wasn't bothered. The committee wasn't bothered. Young generation, youngsters, they're breaking away from the tradition of arranged marriages. And we need to cater for them. Otherwise, they're going to be vulnerable. Our kids are going to be vulnerable to these predators that are out there. If we don't do it in our own community, if we don't organize the services, then they're likely to be vulnerable. Like Gog Roger, like don't know how many years he's been around, but he's did that in the 70s. I think Fazan raised it with the police in 2007. But Fazan is a community guy who's got a lot of involvement in different boards of governors, of police, etc. Don't know what he's up to behind the scenes and Nagina. He reported Gok Roger in 2007 as per the text message. Now the question is, why didn't the police take him serious then? It's been 17 years. So what has Gok Roger been up to for those 17 years? I know he's had some presence in the Enterprise Center in Himmat. He's been visiting these places. That's an open question now.
What work was this Gok Roger doing in the community then? In the last 17 years you're saying? So, and who has he been working with?
I don't know.
Right? Because I've never heard of him. So who's he been? Like you're saying he's working with so and so and so and so. So who's he been working with in our Park Ward?
Community forums that used to be held in Shea, and he had a big say as well. That was 2000 and I think it was 11 or 12. And he came to one of them. I just happened to be there all day around, talking about the local plan or local development plan, and I saw him there once. And obviously he lives around the neighborhood. He's a popular character. The councillors know him. And he's always, as Arshad said, I've seen him several times picking up litter on rocks. He lives around the Bellhole side of Seville Park.
I think moving forward, I think what we need to look at is some plan of action here, from ourselves. Okay, how do we educate the community? What kind of initiatives we can bring in? And one of them is obviously looking at potential events, marriage events, encourage that aspect in all the masjids and
So the thing is, right, um, we all have ideas. We always, give our input,
Exactly.
but majority of the time nothing happens. And then we just blame the usual suspects again. Oh, the Muslim didn't do nothing, and this guy didn't do nothing. Uh, so who's actually going to do this? Like we're
Let's just
coming out with ideas and stuff.
just
Do we have people who are willing to come out, and whether it's grooming or anything else? Is there any people actually willing to come on the ground on the foot and start working with HX Voice or anybody else
yeah.
that's already doing it? This is the big question. Nobody really has time. You know, um, everybody gives opinions, but
Absolutely right.
nobody
If you
actually
think
does
about the
anything.
discussion that we had this afternoon, the main people that were outlined, so Jay, Osman, Fazan, Nagina, NK, who is here now, Nawaz, Faraj, AK. Yeah, these are the key contributors of the afternoon's discussion, and they have not even accepted this invite. Now, your point that you've just made now, that they talk a lot, and they've been talking for the past 20 years. And Fazan, who mentioned 2007, he reported Gok Roger, and he's got his fingers in many pies, as you saw in the diagram. But is he been taken seriously by the police when he reported Gok Roger? Did he report to the police? Did he report to the council? That's what we need to establish from him. None of these guys who spoke this afternoon have come here in this table talk, and I'm surprised.
Yeah, I'm a member of that group, but I don't comment. I just watch,
So I'm very
and read what's
surprised
going
that
on,
they can
and this is why I joined.
they can write their comments, they can make a lot of noise on HX Voice, but they are not willing to come openly to discuss this at the table talk. Walaikum salam. How you doing, Jay?
Assalamualaikum.
Alhamdulillah.
Walaikum salam.
Mukhtar Saab, you okay? Sorry, yaar, it's
Yeah,
Jay.
Ajmal,
Yeah, sorry, I was having difficulty connecting.
yeah,
I
Alhamdulillah.
couldn't
I
unmute
only
you.
knew
I
you once
couldn't.
in my
Yes,
life,
yes.
but
You're right, brother.
Alhamdulillah, now you're on. So Alhamdulillah, make any comments that you want to make. And
Yes.
Umar is here. Uh,
Well, there's not many comments to make, yaar. It was just that, obviously, your admins, yeah, all it was I asked a question and it wasn't answered. I've only met you once as well, Mukhtar. But I think if you guys are going to lead from the front and be the Halifax voice,
okay.
you need to basically tell us who you are. I don't know any of the admins. I don't recognize any of the numbers. But obviously, you guys, you're being the voice of Halifax, so you need to be. And plus, um, it seems like there's a lot of personal attacks on this group, and I'm gonna say I'm a nobody. I help out with people wherever I can. You know what I mean? I don't like the limelight or anything like that. But what I don't like is if people are doing good, that they get attacked for it, and they get prime example today was something that's happened in the 60s and 70s. What basically Gore have done, and we're now being tarred with the same brush. And I think I'm sure the rest of you would agree that's a bit unfair. Us as a Muslim scout group, first and foremost, we're Muslims. Yeah. we adhere to our, well, how do you say? Yeah, we adhere to our faith, and we're not there free mixing or anything like that. Our girls and boys are separated. But what I don't agree with is that obviously admin have control. They put something on there, and basically it's like lighting a fire. Trying to associate us with people like Gork Roger or anyone else is totally unfair. And it's not just us, anybody. If you go on anybody, even they mentioned Parveen, it's personal attacks. You shouldn't be doing personal attacks. If an organization is doing good, you've got to look at the organizations that we've got in Park Ward around Halifax. Why do you think our area is so deprived?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just make a comment here, please?
Yes.
Really? Okay. I agree with the comment that's just been made. In terms of, okay, John and his conviction, that's completely separate. With the trying to sort of put a link between that and 51st Pelham, I think is unfair. Without evidence, nobody should be making accusations against anybody. And I think it's unfair. 51st Pelham, whether you like the organisation or not, generally in the community have done a lot. And when I saw that message come up, and obviously we've now got the 6 weeks holidays coming up, a lot of parents, if they are on the group or they know people that are on the group, they might think twice, thinking, hang on a minute, I don't want to send my kids there. I've got doubts. Yeah, I've got doubts about these people now, because you put doubts in people's heads that are my kids going to be safe if I send them there? Obviously, the issue about just because somebody's Muslim doesn't mean we automatically assume that the kids are safe. There should still be safeguarding checks on whoever, Muslim, non-Muslim. But I think that what those comments have done is that parents and families that now probably would have sent their kids there or have probably signed up, because I know that 51st Pelham put it on their Facebook group and they've sent it out in the community where you can sign up, will probably be thinking, hang on a minute, are my kids going to be safe? Do I actually want them to go there?
Can I make a comment? Thanks for that. Yeah, basically on that fact is that, a parent, should always check, confirm before sending their kid. And I think it's good that Halifax Voice kind of, I know it might not have been the right way to say it, but hang on a second, be warned, please check, before you send your kids or whatever. And, at that level, to ensure that people are aware instead of willy-nilly sending their kids here and there and everywhere.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. It's a good point. However, I think it could have been put in a slightly different way.
Yeah, could have done. But I think the point what came across, okay, fair enough, not as they should have done, but it's kind of provides useful information to parents to say, hang on a second, whether it's 51 Scouts or any other Scout or any other movement, or even, sending your kids on a like a tabligh setting where they go for about a week or two somewhere, with the tablighi jamaat or whatever, to ensure that you understand the length and the breadth of the issue, okay? Potentially being aware of the surrounding and current setup we have in this day and age.
Yeah, can I just come in there, please?
Yeah, sure.
Mukhtar Sahib, it's me, Umar. I just want to make a comment. I think I'd 100% agree with the sister who just made a comment there. And also Jay's mentioned it as well. Be honest with you, my kid, I normally don't get involved in these kind of things, but after looking at that comment on the group, I was a bit surprised, to be honest, because my kid goes to this group, right? And it does put doubts in people's minds. But I think what we need to be aware of is that all the people who look after these kids, they have their DBS, they have everything has been cleared. That's what the main thing is. And what the brother just mentioned there is that we need to check. I think it's got a valid point, but I think it could have been put in a more, a better way, be honest with you. It's just putting doubts it's putting doubts in people's minds, and the sister's 100% right. I think it's not the right way of doing it, please. So
sometimes, these messages might come across to people in different, how they interpret it. But I think...
you definitely have a point there. But I think if we had put the point that please check these organizations...
absolutely.
Everyone do your due diligence. But like I said,
I mean, who say, for example, if one of us sent their kids to 51 Scout and knocked on their door and said, okay, before I send my kid, I want this information, how would they feel? Does anybody on from your end
Yes, you can speak to our Chairza here, and he will provide you all the information that you need.
What we need to do,
every single one of our leaders is DBS checked, and it's not a basic one; it's an enhanced one. So it's similar to when you send your children to school. All the staff have been DBS checked. Similar with this, we don't get paid for this. We're volunteers, but we've still been DBS checked. We've gone through all the safeguarding training, all the first aid training, everything. We've done all the training that's required. Like I said, I'm a parent as well. Forget that I'm a leader. I'm a parent as well. My daughters go there as well.
Now,
I'm telling you now, I've done my due diligence.
Just I'm going to make a comment
Yeah.
because I think
That's good.
if you look at Halifax Voices objectives, yeah, it's just to create awareness. Now, Gok Roger has come about. Now, he was involved with children 50 years ago. Now, why has this brother put in the other two articles there as well? How do you link 51 scouts into here? Because there's been recent incidents. Yeah, I'm talking about 2 years ago, the two articles that were put on there, that there have been a lot of abuse within the scout community. Now, we're just making awareness within the community to say, look, when you send your children there to 51 scouts, do your due diligence. When we're putting the linkage between scouts and Jimmy Gokroger, we don't want the likes of Jimmy Gokroger haunting us and our communities in the future, just like Jimmy Savile. Gokroger is very instrumental in this because this has brought about the child safeguarding issue within the people who are working with children. Now, 51 scouts is there, UC3 is there as well. Now, the UC3 is on the diagram. He is willing to have interview. And then the second thing is I've approached Zahir Halil, and he's been very defensive in a lot of things. Whereas UC3 they're open to discussion, open to interview, and inshallah in the near future we are going to explore this organization in detail. UC3, 51 scouts, we're going to even actually go there and see what they're doing. Yeah, just the guy just highlighted it. It's not an accusation, it's not an allegation or anything like that. He says watch it. Basically, what I read there was watch out for Parveen and Zahir. It's about Halifax and it's about the wider community, because now I want to propose something which I've been proposing a long time as well before. You know, it'll be very interesting, and we will be going around the diagram that was produced a couple of weeks ago. I think it was during the election time. It'll be nice to have Zahir, yourself, Jay, and a few others on HX Voice, just to outline as to what you do. Yeah, I know you're doing good work and so forth, but this needs to be. This is the reason why HX Voice is here.
I think
our social media speaks for itself. Everything's on social media. Everything's there. Do you know what I mean? It's what I'm saying to you is to go forward.
I'll tell you, Jay,
you guys need to do it.
Let me just give you an.
This is the internal.
The whole point of this was about child
Exactly.
grooming and safeguarding. Should we just stick to that one point? The 51st talent can be looked at later. The issue with the, in fact, the good point out of this is now that has come out is that maybe, like obviously the issue with not necessarily 51st Scouts, but generally with all sort of organizations, including the masjids, maybe the people on the group should be aware, or there should be methods in place of, for example, situations where parents can think, okay, this is how I go about doing safeguarding checks. Yeah, so there's maybe something that is available on the group that says, if you are thinking of enrolling your kids onto this program, whichever organization it is, you need to check to see if they've done this and this and this check. Yeah, I think that would be a starting point generally for parents, people that don't have sort of knowledge of the safeguarding. I mean, most people wouldn't even think about asking the masjids, oh, can you give us, have you done the DBS checks on these imams? Nobody would. I would not come across many people that would ask the masjid committees, or have you done safeguarding checks on the imams?
It's a matter of trust, isn't it? Now, it's the matter of trust. That is the big thing.
Yeah, but then you've talked about a Hafiz that's been grooming kids. Now that you've raised that issue, you can't put it back in the box, because obviously the issue is now it's like, well, hang on a minute. If we send our kids to the masjids, okay, there are certain checks. For example, somebody raised this before. If an imam comes from, say, Pakistan, there are checks that the Home Office will do, but those will be checks like, for example, if there's on any public register, has the person been convicted of sexual offences or any sort of offence? But you know as well as I do, in those countries, they don't have the same sort of system that we have where you've got registers and, you know, you've got proper convictions and it's all gone through courts. There may be people that filter through those nets that we don't know about.
Absolutely. So what we need
what I'm saying is maybe we should have, not necessarily, I'm just saying for 51st Pelham, I'm just saying generally across the board. So having something maybe like, I don't know, a website or something that link to say that if you are thinking of enrolling your kids up for groups, clubs, anything like that, these are the sort of safeguarding checks that maybe you should ask or these are the types of questions you should ask those organizations. So at least parents have got some sort of, you know, they don't just rely on the fact that, okay, well, my neighbors sends their kids there, they must be okay. Or I know the organizer, I know his parents, they must be, because Zahir and his family, I know Zahir and his family. But I think people that don't know, like whichever organization it is, to have like a checklist or something to say, if you're thinking of sending your kids to any groups or you've got issues, look at these are sort of the questions you should be asking. These are the sort of checks that you should be asking them, have they carried those out before you make up your mind to send your kids there. And I think that's the whole point of, that's what I understood the whole point of this was to actually look at the issues of safeguarding and grooming within our community. And I think that's probably a good place to start. It's a small start, but at least people can actually, it's something that everybody can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So now what we need to think about is that the role of HX Voice? So we've basically raised an awareness. Now, how are we going to channel this awareness through the different organizations that are there, like the Masajids, like the 51 Scouts, UC3, and Jay mentioned about 9 other organizations that deal with children. How do we ensure that there are sufficient safeguarding checks in place?
Well, Mukhtar, you're trying to be central, so you need to take a lead. If that's what you want the Halifax Voice to be, you need to take the lead. Gather that information, get the information together, and produce it for the parents. If you're going to raise awareness, don't just start the conversation off and then disappear and never talk about it again.
Remember, there's only a few people here, so Jay, we can't do this without your help. Yeah, you now entered a discussion now there's no point raising the issues and then walking away. Let's work together. This is a sensitive issue about Gok Raja has brought a lot of things to the surface. Now today Gok Raja has been targeted. Tomorrow it'll be these organizations, the masjids, the 51 Scouts, UC3, and 9 other organizations that you mentioned. They'll be talked about in the community in the future. It might crop up. They might use this as a scapegoating tool to scrutinize our organizations that are doing good for the children.
I think what the sister said there, it makes absolutely sense. It would be good to have a website where you can have organizations who register on there and say, right, we comply with all these, safeguarding standard, whatever it is, and then people can go on there, oh yeah, this organization is fully compliant and they have all the people with DBSs, blah blah blah, and then it makes life easy for people, isn't it? Otherwise we just trust people, oh, I know this person and he knows him, and then something might happen. You're right, that is the issue there. We need to take that into account. It's just,
Alhamdulillah, you have just outlined a very big requirement for the council. So should the council be vetting these organizations? Yeah, because they're the ones who are funding. They are the ones who are funding 51 Scouts, UC3 on the healthy holidays and many other.
Mukhtar, stop you there. The council don't fund us.
Whoever funds it. So should they be?
We fundraise. We don't. Council doesn't fund us.
Yeah, happy holidays or healthy holidays.
Healthy holidays is a council thing, but we run the program for them.
Exactly. So what we need to, like what Umar has mentioned, is some sort of a website, some sort of a way of them, the council or any organization, to vet these organizations before they provide. I'm sure they've got.
Yeah, well, our our Scout Association vet us. That's all out in the open. That's the national movement. We're international movement. So we're all vetted. Everything's digital. Everything's online. So all these other organizations, they don't have no oversight committee or, oversight organization. We have a district, and then we have regional, which is the county, West Yorkshire Scouts, and then we have national, which is obviously the Scout movement. So we have everything in place. Our organization is, multiple layers of scrutiny, but I can't vouch for any other organization.
I don't think it's appropriate for the council to be vetting these organisations, because they will then put their own criteria in, or you need to be teaching the kids X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
And we know what that means in terms of teaching them. It'll be their own criteria.
Yeah, and we'll have to go by that. Yeah.
I think we need.
I do apologize, guys. I have to go now.
I think we ask Zahid to come on the platform HX Voice, and we can he can raise a lot of issues here. You can come on here as well, and just want to have an overview of what 51 Scouts is all about.
Okay, I'll have a discussion.
Because it's like normal discussion like this, and I think we need to have this often. And a lot of the people that commented on there, I think you're the only one who's turned up. The rest of them have just not bothered to even reply back.
Well, I think you got a lot of watchers there, aren't you?
There's a lot of people just make the comments and just run away. But Ajmal, I think you'll be very useful to work with, inshallah, in the future. Yeah, inshallah.
Inshallah. Inshallah. No problem. Take care.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll publish all this, inshallah, the discussion on HX Voice, inshallah. So it's all published. Everyone's aware of what we discussed.
And then, Mukhtar, can we have like a sort of a link or a list or something, just generally? I'm not just talking about the Scouts, just generally, that organizations that, for example, people want to, have their kids involved, especially now that we're coming up to holidays, so that we can do our own, as parents, we can do our own checks.
Can you help me on this? Because there's a lot of things the thing is the time, like, don't have much time.
Well, what I can do is I can have a look on the government's website, because they do tend to have sort of quite useful information in terms of, like checks, or, like working with children, what sort of checks should be done, what sort of, which organizations are come under these rules. So I can have a look at those, and then it may be that, we can provide a link or something.
Yeah, I think that'll be quite useful. Yeah, if no other comments, I think we should call it a day for today and close this meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum.
Ahead for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Assalamu alaikum.